I thought I'd do something a little bit different in this one. I have an idea for another app I want to build. It's another fitness related app, but it's very specific. It has a very specific use case. So I'm going to take this and basically show you my design process for kind of ideating a new app starting from scratch. And I'm just going to get started here and tell you some cool, interesting things along the way and hopefully learn a thing or two. So let's get started. Here I'm just starting with the main goal of the app, and then I'm diving into some questions that the UI needs to answer. I've always found that writing my interface first really helps me focus on the most important parts. Next, I'm getting some details out of my head onto the page about the main input, so when it comes time to sketch it, I'll be able to reference this list. Now I'm going to take a look at this and try to sketch out some mock-ups here of just what I want the home screen to look like, and how to connect the input screens with the different views of the lifts, and add the ability to track lifts, because I think these are really the core pieces of the UI. So that's what I'm going to try to do right now. So I'm starting out with the top of the home screen here, and pretty quick I realized this section is really important and I need to think more about what info to show here. I'm experimenting with how to visually show lifts, how to show how many pounds were lifted, and how many days it's been since your last lift. And here I'm jumping over to the Apple Stocks app, which I do a lot when I'm making a new app, just to get ideas for how other apps lay out their UIs. I thought of the Stocks app in particular because I know they have time series data showing changes over time, which is going to be a feature of this app. I even stopped to open up the Stocks app on my iPhone to see how they were dealing with showing all this data. You can see I started out with something like a Netflix bookshelf UI going horizontal, and then I switched to a vertical list, just like I saw in the Stocks app. Now here I had a little breakthrough. I basically copied the pinned messages UI from Apple's iMessage app, and so that's going to be how I let users track certain lifts at the top and kind of get more information from them. Whoops. So fortunately, no recording equipment was harmed on the previous day, but I'm here picking it up again and working on the detail card. I'm toying with which data is the absolute most important to show here. Now I'm working on the detail screen, making sure I list everything that needs to be captured and taking a lot of inspiration from the fitness app here. There's also a lot of time series data here, so I'm summarizing it with a graph and then falling back to a list below. Now I'm working on the Add a Lift screen. I'm going to use a full page modal example that you see in a lot of iPhone apps. And I'm spending some time here thinking about the actual input control, because this is something I see a lot of fitness apps get wrong, and it just makes it really hard to actually input sets and reps. Now finally, I'm just summarizing basically the main 3 screens that I ended up with, and I think that's all I'm going to need for the MVP. Then I looked back at my notes and realized I forgot to add the date, which is a crucial part. Alright, so I think I hit a good stopping point for this video. I just made it through kind of my initial wireframes here on the iPad, and you know, it worked out pretty well. I just started with these high-level questions, and I got through about 3 main screens that I think are really the core part of this app, and I kind of summarize these right down here at the bottom. So it's the home screen, which shows an iMessages-like interface that lets you pin certain exercises and shows the rest right here. It's a detail screen, which shows you your 1 rep max and lets you view past historical data for a lift, and kind of a form screen, which lets you add new lifts for a specific exercise. Now there's a lot of details I have omitted from these wireframes because I'd rather do those in Figma, but I always find these kind of rough wireframes as a good way to just get the ideas out of my head, make sure I capture kind of the stuff that's been floating around as I've been thinking about this app. And now I have this nice little reference here, and I can come back and refine it as I go. So I'm excited to get this into Figma and bring the app one step closer to reality. But until then, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video.